you to today's webinar hosted by the Building America program. We are excited to have Eric Whirling from the Energy Department with us today to give an overview of key Building America accomplishments, current research focus areas, and future program strategies for encouraging market adoption of energy-efficient technologies and practices. He will also tell you about exciting new developments in the DOE Zero Energy Ready Home Program and the 2015 Race to Zero Student Design Competition. Before we begin, I'll quickly go over some of the webinar features. For audio, you have two options. You may either listen through your computer or telephone. If you choose to listen through your computer, please select the mic and speakers option in the audio pane. By doing so, we will eliminate the possibility of feedback and echo. If you select the telephone option, a box on the right side will display the telephone number and audio PIN you should use to dial in. If you have technical difficulties with the webinar, you may contact the GoToWebinars help desk at 888-259-3826 for assistance. If you would like to ask a question, please use the questions pane to type in your question. If you are having difficulty viewing the materials through the webinar portal, you may find PDF copies of the presentations at the website listed here, and you may also follow along as our speaker presents. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the DOE YouTube channel within a few weeks. We have an exciting program prepared for you today that will describe Building America innovations, impacts, and current research focus areas, and new developments within the Zero Energy Ready Home Program and the 2015 Race to Zero Student Design Competition. Before our speaker begins, I will provide a short overview of the Building America program. Following the presentation, we will have a Q&A session, closing remarks, and a brief survey. The U.S. Department of Energy's Building America program has been a source of innovations in residential building energy performance, durability, quality, affordability, and comfort for nearly 20 years. This world-class research program partners with industry to bring cutting-edge innovations and resources to market. Building America is supported by 10 industry research teams and 4 national labs. Each of these teams and labs partner with dozens of industry professionals, including builders, remodelers, manufacturers, and utilities. The best and the brightest in the residential buildings industry can be found here. Building America uses applied research to deliver building science solutions using a 4-step framework. These innovative solutions are tested in homes to develop proven case studies of success the market can point to. Building America provides the tools the building industry needs to ensure the innovations are applied correctly, always keeping an eye on energy performance, durability, quality, and affordability. The final step, infrastructure development, is a conduit to getting innovations to the marketplace. Building America research focuses on how the components of new and existing homes work together through systems integration. As the market changes and evolves, so has the direction of our research in order to add value and drive changes in performance across the residential building industry. In addition to technical challenges we've been addressing for decades, there is now a need to understand market transformation issues such as evaluation of energy efficiency. In the 20 years of Building America research, we have spearheaded combining ultra-high efficiency with high performance in both new and existing homes, and we are consistently achieving this challenging task. For example, in 1995, a typical home used 3 times more energy per square foot compared to today, and indoor air quality, comfort, and durability problems were common. Today, a home built to DOE Zero Energy Ready Home specifications uses less than half the energy and is more comfortable, healthy, and durable. By 2030, Building America will demonstrate that new and existing homes can produce more energy than they use. Do you want to know more about these proven innovations? The Building America Solutions Center is your one-stop source for expert information on hundreds of high-performance construction topics, including air sealing and insulation, HVAC components, windows, indoor air quality, and much more. You can find it by the URL on your screen or by searching on Building America Solutions Center. Also, the Building America website provides information about the program, the latest top innovations and case studies, and there You can also subscribe to the monthly newsletter. And now on to today's presentation. Our webinar today will provide information about impactful Building America accomplishments, current research areas, and future strategies for research, development, and demonstration of high-performance homes. You will also learn about exciting new developments in DOE's Zero Energy Ready Home program and the 2015 Race to Zero Student Design Competition. If you would like more detailed information about any of these efforts, please feel free to contact our speaker, Eric Whirling. Eric Whirling directs Building America research efforts on behalf of the Energy Department. Formerly, he worked at the Environmental Protection Agency as the National Coordinator for EPA's Indoor Air Plus Home Labeling Program, created EPA's Healthy Indoor Environment Protocols for Home Energy Upgrades, and managed development of the ASHRAE Indoor Air Quality Guide. He also helped to build the Energy Star for New Homes program. Eric is a member of the ASHRAE Standard 62.2 Committee and has served on the boards of ACI and ResNet. And if you've ever attended a Building America technical stakeholder meeting, you may have heard Eric performing one of his original Building America ballads accompanied by his guitar. Today, Eric will provide an overview of Building America historical impacts, current research focus areas, and future strategies for ensuring Building America's leadership in the movement toward high-performance homes. He will also tell you about exciting new developments in the Zero Energy Ready Home program and the Race to Zero Student Design Competition coming up in April. With that, I'd like to welcome Eric to start the presentation.
All right, thank you, Gail. I didn't see your presentation ahead of time, Gail, so I'm pleasantly surprised that you provided fairly significant coverage of the Building America program, so I'm ready to skip to the end and ask if there are any questions. Just kidding. Actually, what I'd like to do is take you through a little bit less of the past innovations than what Gail's introduction suggested, mainly because we've got a lot of great material on that on our website, and I'll show you how to get that information. What I want to do instead is tell the story in terms of where we are now, where we're going forward, and a little bit about how we got there. So I'll start with just sort of a glimpse at the past. Home builders did not innovate significantly. A lot of people might think it's still true today, but things are changing. Consumers won't pay for energy efficiency is something I heard so many times I can't remember. I lost count a long time ago. And then once again, renewable energy was deemed to be not cost effective in the residential environment. And we have picking up. Building America has been at the forefront of innovation in the housing industry for 20 years, as Gail said. And a lot of those innovations, certainly not all of them, but the ones that we'd like to call people's attention to are highlighted on our website. One of the most promising part of the Building America website is the top innovations, and this is just a brief sort of outline of the structure. And I'm not going to get into specific details because there are fact sheets on numerous top innovations with some of the history and some of the players and some of the accomplishments specifically laid out for each of them. But in general, I want to tell you that the innovations that Building America has helped in partnership with industry to create have been transformative in the housing market, and they've included demonstrating advanced technologies which have helped in a partnership kind of arrangement which have helped get advanced technologies to be adopted more quickly than they would have been without Building America's help. Those include building science solutions, energy efficient components, IAQ, indoor air quality solutions like ventilation systems that work. Most of the ventilation systems that work today and are being used in homes were first demonstrated through Building America. The second category, House as a System business case, has been one of the pillars of Building America's strategy and one of the most successful aspects of the program over the years, in that Building America has worked with builders for most of the tenure of the program, and more recently a little bit with contractors in existing homes, to demonstrate that not only can we save more energy technically, feasibly, but it also helps the business case for the builders and contractors who are participating by making their homes higher quality, better differentiable in the market, but also lower risks, lower technical risks, lower business risks, et cetera. And we'll talk a little bit about where we're going with that later. And then, of course, Building America was very closely tied to some of the whole house programs that have been successful, including most prominently the Energy Star Homes program for most of the life of the program, and the collaboration between those two programs, not always intentional, but certainly as we look past in the history, we can see that the Building America influence over Energy Star was profound and helped both programs to succeed. So we're very proud of being business focused in the process of demonstrating advanced practices and technologies in the housing sector. The third category of innovations, in the halls of DOE, we don't normally think about, we think more about the technologies that require research and development investment, maybe a little bit less about things like tools and guidance and things like that that make it easier for normal industry folks to adopt the new technologies and to do it more quickly. But those are so important in terms of changing markets and improving the state of the art with regards to energy efficiency in the housing industry that we established a completely separate category to identify innovations in getting the word out about technologies, including high-performance home solutions like whole house packages and information about technologies, the Building America Solution Center, which I'll talk about a little bit later, high-performance home metrics that help to better specify high-performance systems in housing designs, et cetera, and then research tools like the BOPT program that has sort of been behind a lot of the DOE2 and more recently Energy Plus modeling advancements that have happened in the residential sector. And then finally, even if you get advanced technologies, prove the business case and help people learn how to do the advanced technologies, we still find that in the housing sector there are barriers that remain, including the following three. That educating professionals is the solution, of course, but the barrier is if we don't have a trained, educated workforce that can deliver on the best practices and advanced technologies that we're demonstrating in the program, then how can we expect it to take off in the market? So we need to help stimulate more building science education in the in all the education pipeline. Second of all, figuring out how to recognize the value of energy efficiency and high performance in the transaction process. That's been a bit of a barrier for a couple of decades now. And only now are we starting to see the value of energy efficiency in high-performance homes starting to actually be recognized in the real estate transaction processes. That's a subtle development, fairly recent, but something that we're quite proud of because it enables a more mass market adoption of energy efficiency and high-performance improvements. And then finally, codes and standards can get in the way if they're old, with regards to some of the technologies and practices that might lead to better outcomes with regards to performance, risk reduction, and energy efficiency. But if they're adopted more slowly by the states and other jurisdictions, or the code officials aren't trained in new technologies, et cetera, there's a whole slew of reasons why codes and standards can be behind the state of the art. And so we've made an impact in all 12 of these areas over the history of Building America. And if you want to see more of the details, please check out the website. It's pretty easy to find. It's right on the front page of the Building America website. So that's about all I want to do looking back into the past. And then I want to get back into the trends here. Consumers, we have some fairly significant evidence, are starting to demand green and energy efficiency. Some of these recognizable labels didn't exist, 10 years ago. And there are a whole more where those came from if you're interested. Another source of information for our conclusion that consumers are starting to demand green and energy efficiency is a National Association of Home Builders report of, I think this came out about 2 years ago, what home buyers really want, and it's a survey-based instrument that they do every couple of years, I believe. And the most recent one was pretty fascinating. The trends in that report showed some pretty significant change in the way that consumers view energy efficiency and green features. And I just wanted to call to your attention a couple of those highlights. One, most buyers want an energy efficient home and on average would pay an additional $7,100 up front if it would save them $1,000 a year in utility costs. This was a result of an in-depth survey, statistically significant, and that it is a pretty impressive result. And subject to the limitations of surveys as always, but still they actually were robust enough to get that kind of level of assessment about how important those issues might be when it comes right down to spending extra money. Another thing that was really interesting in that study is they asked consumers about a whole bunch of different features, most of them not specific to energy efficiency, but 11 of them, the top 11, trying to remember the exact fact here. The bottom line of this one was that 3 of the features were in the top were Energy Star ratings, and that's a pretty significant change, indicating that people know and value the Energy Star label in terms of higher perceived quality. Not necessarily, they don't always understand what it means in terms of how much energy savings, but they certainly perceive it as being an indication that there's a higher quality product here. And that 85% of the buyers valued these energy efficiency features that were much higher on the list than they were in the previous studies. So just a lot of evidence in that study, and I urge you to go check out that study if you're interested in finding more of the specifics. The third trend, market trend that I wanted to point out that's been fairly recent is that photovoltaic costs, this is just an example of how the renewable energy technologies, which have been perceived as being too costly, are coming down significantly. And there's a program at DOE called the Sunshot Program, which set out to achieve what we call price parity for rooftop solar collectors, solar electric collectors, by 2020, which is only a little more than 5 years away. They started the program in 2010, and they've been tracking what that price is, and it's come down 60% of the way from the time they started the program to the goal in 2020. And what they mean by price parity is that a kilowatt hour of electricity is approximately equivalent, generated by PV is approximately equivalent to what that same amount of electricity purchased through a coal-fired power plant might produce. So, any of you who have followed the economics of renewable energy know that that's a fairly recent trend. There's been a steady but very slow reduction in prices of renewable energy systems. But recently, with a combination of the investments by the Department of Energy and also a lot of the activities overseas, including especially a big play by China to reduce, to produce a lot more PV panels, and the result has been that the costs are coming down significantly, and we're getting pretty close to the point where it's going to seem pretty attractive for people to buy PV panels for their homes, or else lease or some other way. So the bottom line here is that we've got a pace of innovations picking up. Consumers are starting to recognize the value of green and energy efficiency and the renewable energy that might be able to actually offset anything else that we can't take care of from energy efficiency is getting pretty close to realizing that goal of cost effectiveness and cost competitiveness with the other utility options, which leads us to feel very confident. In fact, Sam uses the term hard trend, that we are on the path towards zero energy homes. When we'll arrive there, we're not sure, but we can plan for it and we can expedite it through improved investments in energy efficiency with understanding of how those investments might pay off in the marketplace. We also think that this will apply to not just new construction, but also existing homes. A little bit more about that. There's some huge challenges there, but I think that we're on the way to zero energy in all homes. Now, what does success look like? If we do it well, we do it quickly, we end up with a market down the road, say 15, 20 years from now, where net zero energy homes are commonplace. Builders are more comfortable with making long-term warranties because they know the quality of their homes is higher than in the past. All the housing trades are starting to get comfortable with energy efficiency and energy efficiency services and the profitability of them. Starting to emerge professionals who can actually act as house doctors to help people solve the problems in their existing houses because they don't perform as well as the new high-performance houses that are emerging in the marketplace. Home asset management, as we start to realize that total cost of ownership for a home is dominated by operating costs over the life of the house. So can we rely on new professionals that will emerge that will help homeowners to actually be able to efficiently manage their asset, including maintenance plans, upgrade plans, etc. And then finally, Americans are going to start paying more attention to preventative maintenance. It's been my observation throughout my over 20 years in the housing industry, including the behavior of my own family in our own houses, that preventative maintenance is not often done in houses. We usually do maintenance when needed, unlike the culture that we've come to with our cars by and large in our society, where we take care of the oil and rotating tires on a regular basis. We often end up only maintaining our houses when things break. And that's something that can be fixed, and in fact it can be in the best interest of consumers when we change that culture. But that culture doesn't change easily. We'll need a whole workforce of professionals that know how to service those preventative maintenance needs and the optimization of the performance of the houses. So that's my vision over the next sort of 20 years, I guess, about what the housing industry, how the housing industry might change with regards to both the technology of high performance and also the business. So what will all that mean? The economic impacts are quite large when you consider that $2,200 a year is the annual household energy bill for single-family houses, with over 70 million single-family houses, and when you include attached housing units, we're up above 113 million housing units in the U.S. Total then is just rough estimate, $240 billion is spent per year on home utility bills in this country. And if we could just cut those in half for that whole population of homes, we would be talking about adding $120 billion of savings into the economy that consumers, homeowners could, and renters could spend other ways. We think that's healthy economic impact if we can achieve that goal. The opportunity is big as well, because of the over 100 million homes that could use energy efficiency improvements that could be cost effective. Plenty of jobs in the housing industry that could be leverage towards improving the performance of homes. Of course, if we get net zero energy homes, we're not depending on foreign energy, and we move closer to that goal of energy independence. And then, of course, if we get high performance homes, the air in the homes is cleaner, and the indoor air quality and health risks are lower, and people are more comfortable and happier in their homes. All good stuff. So this next slide is just a quick outline of the 4 different areas of strategic focus that we've been developing over the past few years with Building America and our sister programs here at DOE. And they boil down to 4 different types of activities. There's developing this innovation pipeline. It's certainly research and development as part of that, but it's not just research and development. It's also how do we plan to get, how do we plan to influence both the new construction and the home improvement markets to actually embrace the technologies that are developed through research and development. So we prefer to call it developing the innovation pipeline and accelerating innovation instead of just plain research and development. The second bin of activities is that guidance and tools set of activities, and I'll talk about each one of these things in the innovation pipeline and the guidance and tools area. The other 2 areas, improved infrastructure and market recognition, are a little bit more towards our deployment activities. I'm going to touch on a couple of these things, like the student design competition, as Gail said. I'll talk just a smidgen about codes and standards, and might get some time to talk about building science education, because Building America plays a key role there. And I can introduce you to the Zero Energy Ready Home program. But much of the issues in the improved infrastructure and market recognition are activities in our deployment side program, like the Zero Energy Ready Home. And my colleague, partner in crime, Sam Rashkin, is much better at presenting those activities, so I'll reserve that for another webinar. So I'm going to dive right into the Building America R&D roadmap. Now, this is a fairly new development in the program. We've been working hard in the past few months to chart a course for how we're going to improve the focus and the accountability of our research and development activities with Building America. And I'm going to take you through a few of the slides for the logic and the technical background, backdrop for why we're focusing on what we're focusing. First of all, let's start with the goals. For DOE, our goals are in the new construction market to demonstrate at scale market-relevant strategies for new homes offering savings of 50% or more by 2025. That actually, I think, is the easier of the 2 goals, even though the number's bigger and the date is sooner. The reason why we think it's easier is because we think that we're already demonstrating pretty close to that with our Zero Energy Ready partners in some of the Building America projects that have been done in the past couple of years. So we're pretty confident that most of the challenges there are really just about how can we help inform the market and change the market infrastructure so that those kinds of approaches are encouraged in the market. And what can we do in an R&D and demonstration set of activities that will encourage that and solve the barriers. So that's the new homes goal. The existing homes goal, we've staged it a bit because it's a much more complicated market, I believe. And so we're currently shooting to demonstrate at scale the market relevant strategies that offer existing home savings of 20% by 2020. And we're on track for that one with the Home Performance with Energy Star program achieving an average of more than 20% savings per home. But getting to scale is the tricky part for that. By 2025, we'd like to extend the efficiency more, but mostly focus on getting that scale up, and then hopefully by 2025, we'll be in a good position in the existing homes market to increase the energy efficiency of the upgrades that we're helping to make happen in the marketplace by up to 40% by 2030. So we're hoping that the scaling of the market will also help to open up opportunities for increasing the energy efficiency improvements. So all of this is based on what we call the Building America R&D roadmap, Research and Development Roadmap. And this is the latest iteration of it. It has evolved over time, but the basic point of it is that we're charting the history of energy efficiency and performance in homes. And it shows, without belaboring the point, it shows, I'm sure that many of you have seen this before in either mine or Sam's presentations, but it makes the point that in the beginning of the search for energy efficient housing, starting right after the energy crisis, late 70s, early 80s, a lot of work was done, mostly focused on improving what we call the thermal enclosure or the thermal envelope, and that's adding insulation, and then realizing, of course, pretty quickly that air infiltration and airflow in and out of the building was a huge contributor to energy loss or unwanted energy gain in hot climates. So we worked on those technologies through Building America and other research initiatives. And by the time we entered the 90s, we had a pretty good understanding that the tighter you make the home, the more likely indoor air quality problems can happen if you don't provide ventilation, mechanical ventilation, or a better term is probably controlled ventilation. We also started seeing some of the efficiency standards improve for HVAC equipment, so the 90s saw quite a few advancements in that area. In the 2000s, most of those issues kept developing in terms of sophistication, a little bit better ventilation systems, a little bit better understanding of what leads to indoor air quality and the complexities there, a lot more learning about moisture flows in building envelopes, etc. And then the starting to appreciate the need for lower load HVAC systems as we get the thermal and continually more efficient. So here we are in the 2010 to 2020 decade, and efficient water heating is also on the plate. But we've gotten a little bit more sophisticated about what it means to be an energy efficient, high performance thermal enclosure. Still plenty of questions to be answered, but we have a much more clear research strategy now than we ever did. Smart ventilation and indoor air quality is actually starting to be within reach, including development of future improvements to standards that will make it easy for industry to adopt indoor air quality and ventilation systems that work and are reliable. And then, of course, we're hoping to see a lot more lower load HVAC systems that are efficient and affordable. So that's where we are today. If we're going to get to this zero energy ready or zero energy future for homes, we're also going to have to deal with the miscellaneous electric loads. That's the gray box in the lower right-hand corner. And that's miscellaneous electric loads is an increasing portion of the energy end use in houses. And the only way to get at that, aside from improving the standards for the individual products that we put in homes that use electricity, but also learning how to manage the use of the products in smart ways. So that's where the term smart home comes from, and there's a lot of technology development still to be done in that area. So we're invested in that in our emerging technologies program, but not expecting to make much progress in the next few years in the Building America real-world home space. And then finally, we've got an emerging set of issues related to integrating renewable energy generation into the home. In particular, and most prominent, is the solar photovoltaics that I mentioned earlier. And some of the issues that we're going to face that are fascinating but quite challenging have to do with, once you start getting a sort of a critical mass of rooftop solar installations in a utility grid connected situation, you actually start having some serious power management issues that the utilities are concerned about, and for good reason. So figuring out how to manage the non-constant generation nature of solar power generation is going to be a big challenge, but there's a lot of investments being made in that space, and we're confident that we'll be able, within the next 5 years or so, we'll be in a good position, if not sooner, to demonstrate some really good solutions in the Zero Energy Ready Homes program. So that's the sort of the 30,000-foot look at the research and development roadmap, in other words, and it fairly clearly defines the general technology areas that we need to work with. The devil's in the details, of course, and so let's dive into some of the details. The first thing to say is that for now we are focused on these 3 issues. Any of you on the webinar who were aware that Building America announced a funding opportunity recently for the next round of Building America teams, if you've read that funding opportunity announcement, you know that, you may have even bid on it, you know that these are the 3 areas that we're focused on in that funding opportunity announcement. I'll talk a little bit about these things from a strategic level, but not enough of a detail to sway any of the FOA activities on today's call. And I apologize for not being able to go into more detail of those areas. But I would like to at least be able to tell you why we're doing it and how we expect to make our investments in the future. So I want to start with, for the explanation of why we're focusing on those 3 areas, I want to start with this pie chart, which is just a condensed version of the detailed energy end use pie charts for residential energy consumption. And a quad, for those of you who don't know, is a quadrillion BTUs. It's a lot of energy, and 22 quads is what's used per year on average in the residential building sector, which is approximately 21% or so of the total energy consumption in the U.S. economy. So we're in homes, we're using 1/5 of the total energy in the U.S. A little bit more than commercial buildings. When you put all the buildings together, it's 40%, which is more than the transportation sector, and it's also more than the industry sector. So we use a lot of energy, and when you break it out into these 5 different categories, you can see that a good chunk of that for appliances, lighting, and miscellaneous end-use loads, all those things that you, all those small things that you can buy in a store and plug in, those are all factory-assembled products, which may not have much effect on the overall operation of the home, other than whether or not the lighting and your entertainment needs are met, etc. So Building America does not focus on those kinds of products. We have other policy instruments for improving those, including research and development, but also standards making processes for minimum efficiency. Instead, what we choose to focus on with Building America, which is focused on the building science aspects of houses, is this part of the pie. This, and I'm calling it, although it's not officially referred to this in the U.S. Energy Information Agency materials and databases, but I refer to this as comfort because it's really how efficient is our envelope, the building envelope or the building enclosure, and how efficient is the equipment that meets the comfort requirements for the home occupants. You put those 2 together, and and you get this biggest of the pieces of the pie for energy end use in the residential building sector. So 43%, or almost 10 quads of energy, almost 1/10 of the total energy consumed in the U.S. is consumed in houses to make them either more warmer or cooler, depending on what climate you're in and what season you're in, right? So, and in order to actually get a good handle on that and make it as efficient as possible, we need to improve both the envelopes and we need to improve the HVAC systems. And even more than that, we need to improve how those things are installed such that the risks of other problems don't go up. And that leads to our new Building America R&D strategy, which is now more focused than ever before, I believe, on specific technology issues. And in this case, we are focused primarily in the Building America program on reducing heating and cooling energy use in new and existing homes, because it's that highest impact of those end-use loads. Now, the way we're doing it is to focus on the issues that have arisen through that roadmap to be the most important impediments to future progress in home performance optimization. And it comes down to how can we get higher performance envelopes without increasing the risk of moisture problems in buildings and airflow problems, relative humidity problems with the HVAC that the HVAC systems can't fix, and indoor air quality problems from tight construction. So those are the three key areas that we're focused on. And one of the primary instruments that we have at DOE to be able to pursue our policy objectives is funding opportunity announcements. That's what FOA stands for. So over the next 3 years, this year included, we're intending to invest in a new set of Building America industry partnership teams to demonstrate solutions to these problems in real-world houses. And the first of those FOAs is currently active, so I can't talk about it other than to remind folks that it's addressing those three areas. The next critical aspect of our new strategy is that we're working more than ever before within the context of the Building Technology Office ecosystem, and I'll show you a graphic of that so you'll understand what that means. And then finally, one detail, but a very important detail for folks in the near future, is that we're planning stakeholder meetings for the late spring, early summer of 2015 to refine some draft strategic roadmaps that we're currently working on and help to leverage industry involvement and commitment to the goals of reducing the risks of higher performing homes in the marketplace. So those are sort of the highlights. I'll talk a little bit about each of these things some more. Here's this Building Technology Office ecosystem that I referred to below. So Building America is one of the programs within the Building Technology Office at DOE, which is responsible for all of the areas that I'm about to show you. The first part is research and development, and we have an emerging technology program that focuses specifically on technologies that result in energy use in buildings, including HVAC system developments, window and building envelope improvements, water heating investments, and then building energy modeling to help optimize our research investments. So all of those very specific investments tend to be longer term focused, whereas Building America is at the tail end of the research and development, where we're taking existing products that are underutilized in the market and we figure out how to optimize those different best practices and systems to get fully optimum whole house performance. And recently, we've started to apply that to existing home improvements in addition to the new construction optimization. The second part of the BTO ecosystem is market stimulation, not to be confused with incentives. It's really a much broader thing. Back when I was at EPA, we referred to it as market transformation, and it includes programs like Energy Star and the new DOE Zero Energy Ready Homes program, and a host of other programs, including the Home Performance with Energy Star program in the existing homes sector. And these programs are about trying to stimulate sustainable market development for improved energy efficiency adoption in the industry through a variety of activities. And finally, part of the statutory authority and requirements actually for the DOE Building Technology Office is to advance building codes and appliance standards for appliances and equipment that are in homes and use energy. So we have a multifaceted set of goals in the Building Technology Office. But for the first time, we're working much harder than ever before to try and figure out how these pieces might fit together so that we can remove some of the inefficiencies that often happens in a siloed kind of environment. So Building America is in a great position to straddle that because of the nature of the types of projects we've been funding in the past and the infrastructure, where in the past few years we've been working hard to make a stronger connection between Energy Star and now the Zero Energy Ready Homes program in the new construction sector, and the research that's coming out of Building America demonstration projects. So that's just one example. Another example is codes and standards process can be informed by the best practices in building science that's developed through Building America projects and teams. So the point, of course, is that if we can help answer some of the building science questions that lead to lower risk code improvements or standard improvements, then the codes and standards communities are going to be much safer when they attempt to increase the standard level of performance that the industry strives for or is required to achieve. So a little bit more sort of history about how the different components of the ecosystem have been complementary even when we haven't tried to do it. This is just a graph that shows the first piece here is the IECC code. That's the International Conservation Code, formerly the Model Energy Codes, and up until, I'm trying to remember what date, I can't remember. I think it was 2006 was the first IECC. No, 2000. Anyway, doesn't matter. The advancement of the codes have been, kind of incremental, mostly small improvements in energy efficiency. To explain this chart a little bit better, the baseline here we've adjusted to the most predominant model energy code in the country right now, which is 2009 IECC. And so that's the current baseline for this chart. So in other words, in 1986, the energy codes were 40% less efficient. In other words, 40% more energy was anticipated to be used in a house of the same size and footprint as a house built today to the 2009 energy code. And you can see from this that the advancement of energy codes up until 2009 has been in itty-bitty little increments. Every few years a change happens, but not a significant one, until 2009, and then again in 2012. Not so much in 2015, but the increase in efficiency has been pretty remarkable in those last few years of the code cycles. And when you look at what we've been demonstrating through the market programs like Energy Star, and then this next line is the estimated level of improved efficiency demonstrated through Building America projects, it gives you a pretty good picture that we've been leading through the demonstrations in Building America the voluntary programs, which then have contributed towards the ability for the industry at large to take steps forward in terms of improved efficiency by demonstrating lower risk and higher quality can be achieved with higher performance, etc. One of the issues, though, that and of course Zero Energy Homes now fits in here as well. One of the issues, though, that has become probably the most important issue that we have to face right now is, I'm getting there. So the savings from, if we hadn't been involved in any way with building with codes or Energy Star or Building America, we predict that there might have been a slow increase in efficiency as the industry gets more efficient and products are improved and installed in homes. But the improvement would not have been significant, and it would have taken many, many years. The savings achieved from this kind of increase in the efficiency is measurable and looks like it will be significant eventually. Our goal for that I stated earlier in the presentation for Zero Energy Ready Homes in the 2025 to 2030 range is actually quite a leap even from where we are today. But as you can see, we've already started to demonstrate with early adoption that it's possible to do zero energy homes today. It's just not prominent. But the savings potential is huge if we're able to successfully lead the whole market to get to those levels of performance in a way where risks are reduced and minimized and profits are optimized for the industry that delivers those levels of performance to the homeowners. So the one problem that's staring us in the face right now, though, is that now that our homes are getting rapidly more efficient, we're actually starting to get into what we're calling the risk zone. And this risk zone is for a variety of reasons, but it's because, partly because of energy efficiency and partly just because of improvement of technology, like, for instance, technologies like drywall and OSB that have actually made houses more airtight even when we're not trying, have left us with some challenges that in some cases, if we don't do it smart, make houses more risky rather than less as the performance increases. So here's a snapshot of the three biggest sets of risks that we're worried about. Energy efficient new and existing homes are more likely to stay wet. What we mean by that, of course, is that if you put more insulation in the building enclosure in such a way that it traps moisture inside or doesn't allow the drying of the moisture when it does get wet, either from the inside or the outside, then it stays wet, and of course it makes the building materials more vulnerable to decay. It makes the house more vulnerable to indoor air quality and relative humidity problems, etc. The second thing is that even if we have that moisture issue under control, if we get loads down because we've improved the efficiency of the walls and roofs and foundations, we actually start to get lower heating and cooling loads. And now the traditional systems that we see predominantly in residential in houses are not able to handle part load very efficiently. They don't run as long. It's an increased latent load ratio. I'm sorry, that's a slight error. It's not necessarily an increased latent load. It could be, but mostly it's the ratio of latent to sensible load that's increased. And then the result, of course, is that swing seasons might be extended because the insulation and air tightness of the houses are leading to the systems not coming on as early in the year. And so then we end up with increased risk of lower airflow problems like insufficient mixing, stagnation of air, higher relative humidity, and the HVAC systems on the market today are not particularly good at handling those issues. And then finally, the need for assured adequate fresh air through ventilation, of course, but also through source control whenever possible. If we don't solve these performance issues that are partly contributed to by increased energy efficiency in homes, we will end up having comfort and durability problems for builders and homeowners and contractors that will cause them to shy away from energy efficiency. It will prevent our ability to increase future energy codes and increase the standard of care and standard of quality for the industry at large. And we think that would be a very significant deterrent to improving efficiency in the housing industry. So for these reasons, these three issues we think are the most important to solve before we can get to significant energy savings in homes in the future. So, of course, the solutions to those are just changing the red to blue. We're going to moisture manage high R envelopes, which will make them less likely to stay wet. We're going to optimize low-load comfort solutions, and instead of calling it HVAC, I'm now calling it comfort because that's the purpose of the HVAC system, is to help us establish comfort. Well, if we don't have a very good definition of comfort, then that's going to be a difficult thing to do. So we need to learn how to better measure what comfort is and how to achieve it, how to control it in homes. And then finally, we need to have smarter indoor air quality solutions. We have some decent indoor air quality solutions now in the market that are increasingly seeing adoption, but they're not very smart, and almost none of them tell us when they fail. So we've got some issues to improve there. And then one other thing is that when we look at the indoor air quality in a building, it's not always dictated by, although ventilation is a very important part of achieving good indoor air quality, it's not the only factor that determines the indoor air quality inside a building. So those are the solutions that we're looking for with Building America over the next 3 to 5 years. And we are actually getting a little bit more strategic than just saying those are the issues. We're actually starting to ask the questions, what are the technical problems that we need to solve in order to get to that point where these risks are well managed and the high performance solutions are the best ones for both the technical goals and the business goals of the housing industry. And that includes, in the high-performance envelope space, it includes envelope system moisture risk management and high-performance envelope solutions that can be converted into guidance and tools. For the comfort systems for low-load homes, we're talking about optimizing HVAC system designs and helping to improve the standards where applicable, such that the HVAC industry can deliver better performing systems more reliably. And then second of all, there are some equipment needs in the HVAC space for residential homes that we'll need if we're going to get our envelope loads down as low as we'd like to. And then finally, we're parsing the road mapping activities for IAQ into these 3 areas: targeted pollutants and non-dilution solutions. So basically acknowledging that ventilation is not the only thing we have to tackle if we're going to ensure indoor air quality for homeowners. We do have some work to do on the smart ventilation side in terms of getting cheaper, smarter, more reliable ventilation solutions. And then finally, in order to be able to help consumers and professionals to sort out all of the issues that can affect indoor air quality, we believe that we need to have better valuation and equivalency standards for all the different issues that, or at least the most prominent issues that affect indoor air quality, so that we can control those different factors and ideally get to a point where the standards allow a lot more flexibility but achieve better results than the current standards in place for indoor air quality. So those are the high-level strategic issues. I'm not going to show you any of the draft strategic roadmaps that we're looking at. There is a stakeholder engagement process that we plan to open up to the public in the spring of 2015, and we're currently planning those activities. This is what our strategy development looks like, and I've superimposed on the top of it the FY15 funding opportunity announcement process, so that you can see that we do have to be sensitive about, as we're selecting awards through the FY15 funding opportunity announcement process, we have to be careful not to have conflict of interest or any unfair competition in that process. So we have to carefully time our strategic planning and stakeholder engagement in ways that don't jeopardize the FY15 funding activities. So we're doing all of those things in a way that's fairly calculated to avoid conflict of interest, et cetera, but also lead us quickly to a good vetted strategy for the program for research and development that helps to solve these 3 problems as quickly as possible, and primarily getting started on the next set of activities with the planned FY16 FOA, which would go out in the fall of next year. And this is just our plan. All of this is subject to appropriations, but the funding opportunity announcements for the different Building America teams are going to be phased for the next 3 years. So the current funding opportunity announcement that's out there right now will be awarded mid-next year, around June 23rd is our target date, and we expect to, from 1 to 4 awards for that, but then we'll turn around and get the next funding opportunity announcement out to get the next batch of Building America teams working towards solving these problems. and get those awards done in 2016 and so on after that. So I'm trying to give you a picture of how we're going to be building out the Building America teams to execute our strategy over the next 3 years, and the results will be extended into 2020. So that's about the extent of what I can share with you right now about the research and development roadmap and our strategy for moving forward. Hopefully it gave you a good flavor for the specific technical issues and challenges that we're facing, and our strategy for how to get the next generation of Building America teams up and running to be focused on and solving these problems. And that's about what I can share with you there. The next aspect of what I wanted to talk about is that the innovation pipeline is not just limited to research and development, but also what's the strategy for working with the industries that we need to adopt the advancements in technologies and best practices that we develop and demonstrate through Building America projects. And so I'm going to take them one at a time, but I'm going to be real quick. We've already used about, I think, 45 minutes or something. So new homes is a pretty clear path to zero. This is, again, that BTO ecosystem, the Building Technology Office, which includes investments from the emerging technologies, research and development, and advanced technologies that we probably won't see for 5 to 7 years down the road, but there's some pretty exciting technologies that we're investing in. Appliance standards are going to continue to increase the efficiency of major home appliances. Building America is right there in the middle where we're demonstrating early adoption, optimized performance, and solving these major risks for the housing profession that prevent adoption of new technologies. And then Energy Star and the Zero Energy Ready Home programs accelerate adoption by recognition, by providing solid specifications for improved performance and recognition in the marketplace for achieving it. And then finally, as code advancement processes can work through the consensus process to increase the standard level of performance that's expected in the industry, then those advancements lock in the savings at the scale of the entire marketplace. So all of those programs are starting to work together pretty well, and we're seeing the signs of the advancement already. I showed you that chart earlier. So we're feeling pretty comfortable about that. Clear path to zero with not necessarily comfortable in the sense that we're it's a slam dunk. We got a lot of work to do in all of these areas, but we know that the strategies that we've established here are based on lessons learned and successes accomplished in the past through Energy Star, IECC code adoption, appliance standards, etc., and research and investment. So pretty confident with all of that. And here's a little pictorial that some of you may have seen that sort of highlights how some of these different activities have influenced each other and how it's all sort of part of a market transformation system. We're kind of in that third row, or I'm sorry, the third column, and looking to help define what that fifth column might look like as 2012 IECC gets adopted around the country. Will there be an Energy Star version 4? We don't know. When will a Zero Energy Ready version 2 happen? We'll see. So then to the Zero Energy Ready Home spec, real quickly, I will leave most of the gory details to Sam, who presents this stuff much better than I do, but here is a real quick sort of summary of what the Zero Energy Ready Home program is. It starts with a specification for achieving the best state-of-the-art, but by and large cost-effective performance target in the marketplace right now, which includes an optimized enclosure, risk management for the moisture risks, the indoor air quality risks, and optimized comfort systems, and then we've also added the water protection issues as well. And then finally, the Zero Energy Ready Home spec acknowledges that renewable energy feature and the target of getting to zero has quite a bit of market potential for differentiation, for getting consumers excited about the performance of their home, et cetera. But we didn't want to go all the way to renewable energy requirements or zero net energy requirements until the market was ready at the early adoption phase. So we settled on an exemplary home performance. I shouldn't say settled. We strategically set an exemplary home performance specification that sets up any home, any new home, for being zero energy. That's why we're calling it zero energy ready. We're not messing with the word net here, and that was very deliberate. We're talking about making homes that are ready to be zero energy once the issues and costs are resolved for adding the renewable energy generation, and leaving that part up to the market and our colleagues in the solar program to solve those solar issues. So what we have then is the zero energy ready labeled home specification. It represents a high performance home that is so efficient all or most annual energy consumption can be offset by renewable energy, which is a pretty amazing goal, especially since we've already gotten several hundred and several thousand commitments to future homes labeled in this program. So we're very excited about it. There's quite a bit that Sam has done to develop the value proposition, and we're confirming that it's working for some of the early adopters of the program. In a nutshell, the program delivers homes that live better, that work better, and that last better. And that leads to the exclusivity benefit for builders, the visionary benefit for being able to actually have homes that don't have compromise for the homeowners, and then they're smart and they last longer. All this comes with, of course, some language and tools for contrasting zero energy ready homes with all the rest of the field to help our builders succeed and be on the cutting edge. And we're seeing some early examples. This one's a pretty cool one. My power bill is $5. What's yours? That's a real zero energy ready home partner, Carbet Homes, and a real advertisement that they used. The slide before that showed Newtown Builders, which is using some of the specific, cut sheet examples of the benefits and the systems that are assured in a zero ready home that you won't necessarily find in your typical home. So all these are things that we're confident about that will deliver differentiation for high performance in the new construction market and lead towards that path to zero. Now, the existing home improvement market is currently a lot more challenging. That's not to say new construction wasn't a challenging market to get energy efficiency to happen in. 10 to 20 years ago, we were struggling with some pretty significant challenges. And many of them we've overcome, not all of them, but many of them. The existing homes were quite a ways behind in terms of both technology and the ability of the market to deliver solutions. So I'm not going to show you a silver bullet solution. What I will talk about really quickly for home improvement is what are some of the things that we're thinking about with regards to how to tackle the opportunities and the problems. As a way to start this, let's look at the entire economy with regards to home improvements, and that includes all the trades that do anything in homes after they already exist. And the home performance market, where we've actually established a whole house program for improving the energy efficiency of homes through comprehensive audit and then recommendations for whole house performance improvements, that hasn't quite reached 1% of the home improvement market. So we're a long ways from being noticed by homeowners. It's not to say we haven't made some great successes in terms of establishing a new industry from scratch, and we're proud of that, but we got a long ways to go till we've actually, we've got energy efficiency and whole house home performance as something that's understood by all of the trades that do improvements in the homes. Long ways away, and the path isn't so clear. But we've made a little bit of progress in thinking through what are some of the potential strategies, and I wanted to give you just a sort of a quick highlight of some of the opportunities that might be pursued. One of them is to consider the challenge of, if we can get all additions to meet the new construction standards, wouldn't that be great? That's almost 20% of the market. It wouldn't be 20% of the energy efficiency, though. We've got that's not going to be a solution in and of itself. The next, I think, where the real savings are going to come from in the existing home market are going to be if we can tackle these two sectors, which are actually more than two sectors. But let's take a sort of a high-level lens to this and just imagine that if we could get it to be common practice in the marketplace for HVAC system improvements to happen every time you call a mechanical contractor. And anytime you do something cosmetic to your house, you improve the efficiency of the envelope. So that ends up being more than a third of the economic activity in the home improvement industry, including remodeling and additions, et cetera, and repairs. So how do we tap into that? That's the $64,000 question that we're asking. We don't know yet. There's a few ideas. This graphic is an early graphic I developed just to sort of start to talking about, well, who are the trades, what are the types of upgrades, and what might we do in spaces. This is not a set in policy or anything. It's just some of the thinking that we've been doing about how to get home improvement activity to start paying attention to energy efficiency in a way that we can lead the whole market towards whole house improvements. And eventually we're going to have to tackle these things. How we do it and when and what's the sequence and how much funding we get, those are all unknowns at this point. So we've got a lot to figure out. So that's where I'm going to leave you with the innovation pipeline. Hopefully that's encouraging. What I want to talk about for the next few minutes, and then I want to, about 10 minutes, and then I want to leave the rest for questions, is for the guidance and tools. And the reason why I want to talk about that is that that's the area where once we've demonstrated the technologies or practices work and they improve efficiency, they improve performance, and they reduce risks, then it seems like it ought to be obvious, it ought to be a slam dunk, but it ends up not being so because of imperfect information. There are literally hundreds of thousands of contractors and builders, independent companies out there, and getting them educated, getting their somewhat transient labor force educated and skilled in building science solutions is not a simple task. So we got a lot of work to do to figure out how to get that information about best practices, both technology practices and business practices, out to that whole very diverse market. So one of the most important things that we've been focused on recently for doing that is having a single source that makes it easy to get answers to those kinds of technical questions in a forum where you know it's the most up-to-date without you having to search through research publications. And that's the Building America Solutions Center. And I'll talk about that really briefly, but I'm not going to go through all the slides. If you want to look at the slides deck that's posted on the internet, you can see some of the some of the specific slides. But the best bet is for you to get comfortable with the Solution Center is just to go to it. You can type in BASC in Google or BASC, I think it's PNNL. It's hosted on the Pacific Northwest National Laboratories website. The basics of it, though, are that there are several different components. I won't talk about the Building Science Explorer, but that's pretty cool for all the building scientists who are looking for research reports, et cetera. But the two parts of this tool that are designed for industry include the Component Explorer, and that's where if you're an HVAC contractor or you're a builder and you're looking for solutions for foundation efficiency or whatever, this is the portal that you would go through to get to specific solutions. and just a snippet of some of the types of solutions that you can find in the Solution Center. I'll show you some pictures of what some of those screens look like. Like, for instance, each solution that you get to, say you want a solution for attic knee walls, is going to show you the scope for how to do this, the description specifically of what it is. Ensuring success is really a positive spin on what are the risks that you need to avoid, and then climate-specific issues. We've got training, mostly pictures. There are some videos in the Solution Center. And then CAD drawings where appropriate. Compliance is where we are starting to build a library of code compliance briefs. We've just started that, but it's something that we're excited about because it will help builders to avoid some of the trip-ups that happen when you're trying something new that your code official hasn't seen before, and we have guidance for how to deal with those kinds of issues. So all these are features of each of the different measures that we have in the Solution Center. It's fairly intuitive, easy to get around. I'm going to show you some of the pictures real quick just so you can see the value. There is, specifically for training purposes, it's not only accessible for these pictures through the individual measures, but there's also, you might notice on the left side, under browser, there's an image gallery. And if you click on that, then you can just search for specific images. There are hundreds of them in the Solution Center, and they're all free and available for download, categorized, etc. CAD drawings, the same thing. And then, as I mentioned, code compliance briefs and other information. We also have, there's the image gallery, makes it easier to get a hold of that. Specific related images that show how to do things properly. And we also have a mobile app that helps you to take the solutions that you want to take into the field onto your mobile application or your iPad or something like that, your tablet. So that's a quickie on the Building America Solution Center. One other thing about the Solution Center that's tied to program specifications, and I'll show you some examples here, is that Building America projects have historically, and we will continue, to help support the development of, through early demonstrations, et cetera, and then also working out the technical specifications for voluntary programs like Energy Star and Zero Energy Ready homes. And so those specifications are one of the coolest things about the Solution Center is that we built the next part of the module, of the Building America Solution Center after these specific checklists. So for instance, if you want to comply with Energy Star version 3 and you need to know how to do one of those specific requirements, you can just go through the Energy Star program checklist in the Building America Solution Center, and it will walk you through each of the individual requirements of that program. Same with the EPA's Indoor Air Plus program and the Zero Energy Ready Homes program. There's also now a Renewable Energy Ready module for solar photovoltaic and solar hot water heating checklists. So all of these checklists are currently available. We're also working on checklists in the future for retrofit applications for existing homes. So we're excited about this because we think it gets the technical information to builders and contractors when they need it, and for the programs that they're working with. And here's just a snapshot of how it looks. It's kind of one of those accordion structured thing where you can see the whole checklist, or you can drill down one level at a time, depending on where you are in the planning stage of your project. So that's a quickie about the Building America Solution Center and the program specifications, and hopefully you got how those are all linked together. One last thing in the Guidance and Tools department that I want to highlight is something that's under construction. It's actually in the early idea phase, and it's what about risk management tools? This is particularly important for managing moisture in high-performance walls, and so we're trying to envision right now what is it that builders will need in order to be able to be confident that the the wall design, for instance, that they want to do that will help them achieve a high level of energy efficiency for their walls is actually not going to cause them moisture problems. There is nothing easy to do on the market right now that helps you solve those problems. So what is it that we can do within this program with the significant amount of information that we have building science experts developing and putting into the Solution Center, but how can we help to manage the risks? And one concept from our idea expert, Sam Rashkin, is that I'm excited about is to figure out how can we quantify, not just, I mean, we know how to quantify what the cost of an upgrade is. We know how to, we're beginning to know how to quantify what the performance is that we can expect to receive from a specific measure. But what about the risk? How can we quantify that? And so we're envisioning something that might look like this. This is, of course, early crude conceptualization, but the idea is for all of the measures in the Solution Center, can we help to identify, you know, what are the risk, costs, and performance, you know, on a sort of a comparable scale. We think this will be a valuable tool. We're not sure if we'll turn it into a tool specifically or just guidance. We'll want to work with industry to figure out what people need and want. But that's the concept for how to address the risk issues that we'll be working on over the next couple of years. Just a couple other issues I want to touch on: the codes and standards innovation activities that we're doing, or we've affectionately called it CSI within Building America for the last couple of years, includes 3 different activities. One is the developing code compliance briefs for the Building America Solution Center. We've only just begun. We've only got 3 in there right now, but we plan another 15 this year. We're also doing Building America R&D projects that help to validate high-performance alternatives that have encountered code issues such as fire code restrictions, vapor barrier issues, ventilation standard issues, etc. And then finally, the roadmaps that I talked about earlier will actively address what are the provisions of the codes and standards that we're going to need that will enable better performing walls, HVAC systems, and ventilation systems. So we have, I think, fully integrated with the ability to help the development of intelligent standards that the industry would want to follow through the Building America projects and the strategy that we're going forward with. The very last thing I want to do is talk about the student design competition. Gail said I was going to, so that's one reason why I want to do it, but also because I heard a bit of news yesterday that was very exciting. The student design competition is now in the beginning of the 2nd year. Last year we did it, and we were planning on doing it every other year to alternate with the solar decathlon, but we decided, because last year was so successful, we decided to go ahead and do it every year. And I'm going to fast forward to the 2014. It was we were hoping to get at least 12 teams. We ended up with 28 teams, 26 universities represented, and over 340 students. Sam has a great presentation that shows you some of the pictures of the students and the phenomenal entries in this program. Designs that met all those goals in those earlier slides that I showed. The cool news that I found out about earlier this week is that the application process for schools to submit for or to participate in the 2015 student design competition, the deadline was just last week, and the counts are in, and we have actually gone from 28 teams up to 40 teams this year, representing 33 universities, including Canada, China, and Norway. And one of the coolest things about it is one of our Zero Energy Ready homes builders, Carl Franklin Homes down in Texas, has committed to building the top 2 designs, the winner and the runner-up, which I assume will make the winners, the winning students, really proud of their work because they'll know a home was actually built to their design. So we're very excited about this new great competition that we started last year. We're doing it again this year, and its early success is very promising. So that's all I have to present right now. There's a lot more to talk about with regards to Building America, Zero Energy, Ready Homes, et cetera, but obviously that's all I have time for. I don't know if we have much time for questions, but I'll turn it over to whoever runs that stuff. Gail,
well, thank
right?
you, Eric. This is Gail, yes. And we have time for just a couple of questions. We got some great questions in from our audience. The first one is, utilities in our area are now increasing monthly meter costs while decreasing kilowatt per hour or therm unit pricing. How do you see this impacting energy efficiency and renewable innovations in new and existing residential construction?
Oh wow, that's certainly not something I could answer in 5 minutes, and nor is it something that I would want to attempt to answer comprehensively. But I do have a quick answer, I think, which is that the utility infrastructure is on the cusp of some very significant changes over the next few years. I mean, in some markets, San Diego and Hawaii, for instance, we're past 10% market penetration for rooftop-mounted distributed generation, and that's causing some problems. And we're going to have to figure out how to prevent those problems, manage those problems. We're also making some significant progress towards lowering the cost of that distributed generation for the modules, and then also improvements are moving forward rapidly in battery storage technology, which could solve some of the problems for power quality, et cetera. It's also going to raise the specter that utilities need to radically revise the way they bill for their services. So it's not a surprise at all that local utilities like the one that the questioner is asking about are changing the way they're charging for the utility service. And I promise you there's more to come there. That's a very dynamic field right now. Grid integration issues, smart meters, distributed generation. You're going to hear all of that stuff more and more coming up. And one of the things from our perspective that's the most important is, can we get homes to be so efficient that they have relatively flat loads with smart equipment that deliver high-performance solutions? Then a lot of those problems are mitigated in terms of power quality, et cetera. And we'll leave the rest of the solution up to the solar experts. So I hope that was a useful answer. I know it only partially addressed the question, but let's move on to one or two more questions, and then okay. I don't know if we will try to answer the rest in writing. Gail, will we try to do that?
Yeah, we certainly will have those all in writing, and we can pass those along to you if you'd like to follow up.
Okay, so why don't we take one or two more questions?
Okay, we have one more, and then we need to go on to our poll. The question is, why is lighting not included in your research focus areas? Lighting should be included in the envelope research.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a two-part answer to that question. One is that we have a very substantial investment in lighting technologies in the Building Technology Office. And I've only been talking today primarily about the Building America program, which is only one part of the Building Technology Office's portfolio. The lighting program is actually currently this year funded at a higher level than the entire Building America integration program is. So there's no lack of funding going into improved lighting technology. It includes continuing investment in improving the quality and reducing the costs of LED lighting. They're also working on new technologies called OLED, organic LED, and so stay tuned. There's a lot of developments happening and in the works on the lighting space. As for why we don't, it's really a two-part question. Why we're not focusing on the integration issues related to lighting in Building America, we don't believe that those issues are as critical to overall energy performance as the risks of that prevent adoption of increased insulation, air tightening, and HVAC efficiency. So we are focusing on those core technology areas that we think will be necessary to solve in order to get overall efficiency, but we acknowledge that lighting is an important part that requires some investment. So that's as much as I have time for now. Gail, back to you.
Okay. We'd like to ask our audience to answer 3 short questions about today's webinar. Your feedback will help us to know what we are doing well and where we can improve. The first question asks whether the webinar content was useful and informative. To answer, click on the radio button right in the GoToWebinar panel. And the second question asks about the effectiveness of the presenter. And the third question asks whether the webinar met your expectations. Thank you for taking our survey. Stay tuned for the next Building America webinar on January 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The topic will be Central Multifamily Water Heating Systems, and registration will soon be available on the Building America site on the meetings page. On behalf of the Building America program, I'd like to thank Eric for presenting today and our attendees for participating in today's webinar. We've had a terrific audience and we appreciate your time. Please visit the Building America website to download a copy of the slides and learn more about the program. We also invite you to inform your colleagues about Building America resources and services. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we hope to see you again at future Building America events. This concludes our webinar.